All right, hi guys, we are back and we are rebranded to Brewing Tea with Brennifry. I'm Tori, I'm the Re in Brennifry. So a little bit about myself, nerd, obviously. I met these fine ladies in graduate school. We're all college instructors. My interests are in I love anime. I love comic books. More of a preference towards DC than Marvel. But my X-Men are my like thing, despite them being Marvel, not DC. But as a whole, I like DC a little bit better. I'm an ENFP. I'm a Hufflepuff. I think those are all my defining traits. My interests are, I'm really interested in queer theory and public pedagogy and all of that stuff that comes with comics. So I'm the Re in Brennifry, and to my left is good old Brenda. Introduce yourself, Brenda.
Hi everyone, my name is Brenda. I'm the Bree in Brennifry. My nerd interests are proudly hanging behind me. That is a Superman poster with Lois Lane that I got at WonderCon. This is a Harry Potter poster or Hogwarts poster. I'm also a Hufflepuff. And then on the side you can see my TARDIS exploding poster. I'm a proud Whovian. That's probably my most defining nerdom or fandom. And then I also like Digimon. I have my little Eomon sitting next to me. Like Tori, oh yes, he mentioned, oh look, high five. Okay, so just so that you all know, we all geek out over very tiny little things, so that might occasionally happen because we're Hufflepuffs. My mug of the week is my proud because I said so mug, because like Tori mentioned, we're all college instructors and I like saying stuff. I like listening to myself talk, apparently, even if no one's listening, because that often happens in my classrooms. But anyway, on to Jen, who is our proud moderator this week. And she has her special guest star with.
Hi guys, this is our special guest star, my dog, Angel. He has been popping in and out of my Zoom meetings while I try to work from home. And he doesn't give a shit, so he might make for very lovely gift moments for you all. He has a very don't fuck with me face. Oh yes, I also cuss. That's one of my nerd interests, is cussing all the time. So my name is Jennifer. I am the NF in Brennifry, that middle part. My nerd interests are graphic novels, comics. I'm a Batman girl for life, a Bat girl for life. I love DC. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I do make that distinction. I do think that it has so much like awesomeness in that universe. I love the cohesive storylines that are happening in the MCU. DC, I think, needs to really focus on like one-off stories. We have stronger characters in the DC universe, but we need just one-off stories without this whole world building that was happening in previous films. So my nerd interests are a lot. I'm also a Hogwarts Harry Potter girl. I'm a Ravenclaw in this Hufflepuff love fest, and we like to call it Ravenpuff. And yeah, there's Stitch in the background. I do love Stitch, but I think everyone just kind of loves Stitch. I do have art around the room, but I just don't want to like do a show and tell right now. My mug of the week is this Ravenclaw mug that I just pulled out. It's just been sitting on my shelf, but it says Wise. I got this from Universal Studios, back when we could go outside. And
I remember those days.
I know, don't we remember those days? Which kind of brings us to our topic today. We wanted to talk about birds of prey today. That's going to be our main topic, but we thought we should start off with how are we coping with this quarantine? And so we want to give a moment to just talk about how we're doing with working from home, this new transition, this whole safe at home bit that's happening right now. So how are you guys doing?
I'm doing okay. Bored. Very bored. I crave social interaction and I'm not really getting as much as I'd like. But that's okay. I mean, I'm the oldest of 6, so I have never been alone in my entire life. So this is strange for me.
I am also like I'm an introvert, so I am an ISFJ, as I've come to find out. So I do like my alone time, but it's been really hard, to be honest. Like this is something I've shared with the students that I work with the work colleagues that I work with. It's even as an introvert, this is such a hard transition. I used to have really clear home and work spaces that no longer exist.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I went to work, I could just, come back home and that was my safe space. And now those spaces are smushed together. And so it was really hard to just kind of adjust to that. I've set up my own like sort of corner here where this is just my work area. I'm trying to like put some routines together for myself. So I make myself get up like at 8. I make myself eat breakfast. I make myself put on a watch, even though it's arbitrary because time is timey-wimey right now. And Brenda is just smiled because I said that. I'm not a Whovian fan, but I've been exposed to Brenda long enough. But it's, I force myself, putting on like these cute hair bands.
Which are adorable, by the way.
Thank you. I'm forcing myself to like keep to these routines so that I have some sense of normalcy, even though I love being at home and I love like spending time with my dog. It's hard, like working from home and then just being home for pleasure is a very different thing.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with everything you've just said. One of the things I'm finding is, as a teacher, we don't have normal 9 to 5 days anyway. And Jen has an office job in addition to the teaching. So I can only imagine how difficult it is for you. But for me, I'm finding that even when I'm not answering emails or I'm not checking like all the different apps that our campuses have given us to make sure that we're in constant contact with our students, if I'm not checking those every few hours, I feel incredibly guilty. And I say this because I'm checking them all day, but I mean like at night when it is normal to go to sleep at 9, right? I will wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh my God, what if someone emailed me, right? And so there's just a really weird space where I'm constantly, I feel like I should always be working because I am at home. And then there's just big spaces of downtime when my students aren't working that I feel like I need to be maybe 5 weeks ahead when all of us are actually 2 weeks behind, right? So it's a very weird and timey-wimey time. And in addition to the fact that I just miss seeing my colleagues at work, right? And just having those normal hallway conversations where you're just like, hey, how you doing? It's just not the same thing as text.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm an introvert, so like I'm okay like having my alone time and stuff.
Same.
But so I don't even know how Tori's doing in this time. He's like putting on a big great smile right now. But
I'm just happy I'm talking to someone.
Oh no. Like I used to see Tori kind of 4 days out of the week, or see Brenda like 4 days out of the week or 3 days out of the week. Are different now, right? We still text, right? Like because we've always texted.
Oh yeah.
But it's very different, right? To just being able to have a 5-minute conversation versus setting up a Zoom meeting to have a conversation.
Let me be clear about this, everyone. Jen and I have been friends for 15 years?
I don't know.
Oh, something.
I don't want to like age us out.
No, but it's been a long time, right? And then with Lori, we've also been friends for now going on 7 years?
Yeah, like grad school and then all this teaching.
Yeah. I'm just not used to not seeing you guys at least once a week.
Yeah, like in grad school, I saw you guys like I felt
every day,
every single day, like for multiple hours.
And mind you, and then we would hang out after class, just talking about Digimon or Pokemon, right? And now to just not have any of that is very bizarre. I mean, champagne problems, right? People are like, there's bigger issues in the world, right? And we're doing our part to make sure that we crush the curve, but it's so bizarre.
I think acknowledging that it's bizarre is important though,
Yeah.
right? So that, I think that helps with normalizing that this is a strange time. As like, Brenda kind of revealed earlier, we're all teachers. We all work in some sort of education capacity. So not only did we have to learn how to get online, right? And we can talk about a little bit about that because I think we should be talking about that and not just meme or GIF form, but we also have to like suddenly work from home, and that's very different for us, right? And so I think that so many people aren't recognizing just how strange it is, and that it's normal to feel stressed, to feel overwhelmed, to feel like you don't know what's going on. And I think some do, right? And I think some people just don't, right? We're all also first gen, or first gen adjacent, and so I think it's just really important just to like say like and verbalize, especially as models to our own students, to say like this is hard for us too, and it's not easy.
Absolutely. One of our colleagues sent a meme earlier today. It was something about you're not working from home. You are at home during a crisis trying to work. I think that's so important, right? It's such a small distinction and yet so profound when you think about the scope of where the world is right now, what you're trying, like the tiny fires that you're trying to put out every day. Because it's not one big fire for us, right? For us, it's just a bunch of little things that happen throughout the day that just, at the end of it, I don't know about you guys, but I find myself more exhausted than when I actually went physically to campus and saw my students. Right?
Oh
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
And I worry about my kids, honestly. I mean, they're not kids because they're all adults because we're college instructors, right? But they're my kids, right?
I have a 50-year-old student and I call him my kid still. I'm like, oh yeah, my kids. Like, oh, this is my kid. And people look at me like, what? And I'm like, oh, sorry, everyone's my child when they're my student.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think that, I think we're just trying to like understand where we're at, just trying to get back to like a somewhat normal place, at least emotionally. And all while being told you have to move online, right?
Yeah.
And then and then also have to cater to our students who are also being told you are now distance learning, get over it.
That's been rough.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
I mean, Tori and I teach at two different campuses. Well, I teach at two different campuses. Tori teaches at 3. So every single campus has a different platform.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the differences between Blackboard and Canvas are so stark. They're so, I mean, it's like, it's a giant sea, right? In terms of translating my content online, I have very workshop-based classes. So a lot of my students do their work in class. So that wasn't actually difficult to translate. What they miss is the live feedback. So I've had to get really creative about how I interact with their writing on a day-to-day basis. And Google Drive has been great for that, but it's also, there's a delayed response, right? Because the times that I'm working, my students aren't necessarily working, right? So they'll come back like a day or two after and they'll see my feedback, and so they'll reply, but I'm not looking at their comment or their reply live in that moment because I'm working on another class or whatever. So that's made checking in with them a bit of a challenge. One of the things that I did in live classes was always check in with them just to make sure that they're well, right? I think I really prioritize mental health in my courses, in my classes, because ultimately my students are human first. So I want to make sure that they're okay. And not being able to check in with them just to see and know that they're okay, that's been weird. And I don't care for that. But yeah, that's been a challenge. How about you, Tori?
Yeah, I've taught online before. So for me, it's been a pretty smooth transition just because I have a backlog of lesson plans already videoed and ready to go. But I'm incredibly bored. So when I'm bored in the classroom, I have a hard time doing anything. Like, I'm like, like, because I'm just not into it. But my students it's been a mixed bag of adapting. I've had really good students fizzle. I've had surprisingly students that were kind of not all there doing really well in the online sphere. So it's been kind of mixed for me. And for those that are not teachers that are curious, the difference between Canvas and Blackboard is Canvas is the Taj Mahal and Blackboard is Black Friday Walmart. So.
Well, Canvas is just so intuitive in a way that Blackboard is just clunky, right? It has all the same features, but it's like having a Mac versus a PC. There's something just easy about Canvas that you don't necessarily have with Blackboard. And it's just visually prettier too. I think that might actually be a lot of it too. It's just pretty.
Well, it's just seamless. Like everything works the way you want it to work. It has a lot of tools that like do things for you, things like that. It's just better, so much better.
I'm just working on one campus, but I have a full-time other job plus my teaching.
Just work more than we do.
I know.
We work a lot, so that's saying something.
Seriously, I feel like
I do a lot of things.
Since we started,
us sane, by the way.
Since we've started, I've gotten 21 emails. So.
Oh my God. So yeah, I'm just using Blackboard, and it's clunky AF, as both Tori and Brenda have stated here. It's just gross. Like Brenda, I'm mostly a workshop kind of girl anyways, so translating that online was not difficult. They were already in a unit and going into units that were more independent work and research based anyway, so that wasn't a hard transition for me. What was hard was like learning to work around the clunkiness of Blackboard, right? So, and then also trying to integrate a lot of that community building that I had been building into my course already. So I used to always start courses with like icebreakers, trying to get like people to really buy into their answers. So we would just do like really funny, silly icebreakers, name 3 emojis that describe your week so far, right? What's your favorite hot sauce brand? So just trying to incorporate that into like the online setting was important to me, because I wanted, even if they found it a little bit tedious, I wanted it to be a little bit silly, because I would imagine every other class is not as silly, right? And so I wanted just a mental break. So one of their first icebreakers coming back was like post a funny meme or GIF or positive affirmation. So that was really important for me. Post your COVID-19 playlist. How are you going to get through this pandemic with music, right? So they all got to kind of sample each other's music. So I really wanted to bring that sense of play into my online course. And I think I have a really good group, so they all participated. They've all been there, but yeah, it also go do it. And so we have to figure out, and so on top of trying to figure out our own selves and how we fit into this overall larger safer at home policy. So what I've been doing to cope is I've been obviously spending more time with this guy here, but I've been binging a lot of TV. But that's usually me. That's normal. So like I've been going back to like really old favorites like 30 Rock, because I feel like I need to watch something that's more insane than what's happening right now. And 30 Rock is fitting that. I also watch a lot of Running Man, Korean variety out there, because that is my happy space. Again, watching something that's a bit sillier than what's going on right now. What about you guys? What have you been coping with?
Go ahead, Brenda.
Oh, sure. Same thing. Watching a lot of TV. For me, it's usually British television. There's something soothing about that British accent. So I've been watching a lot of Miranda Hart, or just Miranda. Just watching it on replay. Gary's incredibly handsome, so this is nice to watch. But I've also been watching a lot of comedy shows. I miss Friends on Netflix just because there's a sense of repetition there. So what I've been watching has been Frasier on Hulu, um, and just and The Nanny. There's something about Fran Drescher's voice that is just home for me. It's just home. And I miss her dearly. I love Indebted, which is her new show on NBC, by the way. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it because it is funny. But yeah, there's just something so soothing about The Nanny. I don't know what it is, but yeah. Oh, and One Republic. Listening to One Republic while I'm working a lot has been a saving grace. So thank you for existing, Ryan Tedder, and writing all of your songs because it's greatly appreciated. How about you, Tor?
Yeah, I've been binge watching stuff. So like I thought I was gonna get all this like fun video gaming in over this break, but now I'm like kind of sick of video games. Well, and they're also like stressing me out. Like I'm playing this one right now, and like, okay, it's called Fire Emblem Three Houses. Like I know everyone who's a nerd video gamer knows what I'm talking about. And like, okay, so there's this option for Black Eagles, like I went into it thinking like, okay, I am going to like have this like beautiful goth lesbian wedding because you can canonically marry the goth queen herself, and right, as a female character. But then they sneak in this little snack of a homo, and I have to choose between being a gay man or a lesbian, and it's just keeping me up at night.
Oh man.
Yeah, sounds like Sophie's choice.
I know. So I obviously have to
Like,
read it twice
Goth
now.
Queen sounds awesome.
I know. She's apparently
feel
super
like
controversial. I've not finished her story, so I don't know, but apparently she's super controversial, and I love me a controversial lesbian wife.
Yes, I know.
Gothic lesbian wife is what I was looking for.
You have been talking about Morgana quite a bit, so.
I've been binge watching Merlin, and hashtag I'm with Morgana. I think we should burn down all of Camelot, seize the throne for ourselves, tear down the world order, and create a new one. Simple, fun times.
You met Lance yet on Merlin?
Yeah. He's pretty.
Yeah. Oh, and Picard. By the way, Picard. Okay. I love
Was that the guy with the two swords?
Sorry, no, Picard is from Star Trek.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, but Lancelot is in Picard, which is why I brought it up. Sorry.
Got it. Okay. I was like,
oh,
I'm okay. So for everyone out there, I am the worst person ever with names. Like, I don't remember anybody's names, and I rename them to other things. I'm just like, this is your name now, and that's just how
it makes you feel better. That's kind of how I am with literary critics. I can remember the theory. I cannot remember the critic because I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything from our English courses. So, you know.
Right, so shall we start
English major? Yes, I think so. Also, Tori, I think you should just flip a coin, and whatever you get is what fate decides for you.
I'm flipping a coin?
Oh, yeah.
Just flip a coin for the character.
Mm-hmm. You're going to be a lesbian or the...
Oh, I don't have a coin to flip for Birds of Prey characters. Yeah, I have to beat their...
No, for your video game character.
Yeah, I have to beat it twice now, just so I can get all the 11.
I was mildly distracted by my dog who decided to just leave. So yeah, let's get to Birds of Prey. So we wanted to bring that into conversation back from hiatus. I think it's been like a year or so. I don't know.
It's been a minute because fall was rough. I was teaching like 9 classes.
Yeah.
I was working like 500 jobs, so I don't even remember fall.
I'm like sick half the time.
Yes, that is true. I was very sick last
You were sick because you don't wear gloves like I do in public.
Well, so this spring, I actually took over Tori's class, or one of Tori's classes at DH, and when all of the craziness was starting, I walked into my classroom with like a bucket, not a bucket, like, you know, those little things with the Lysol wipes.
Yeah.
I walked in
Yeah.
and I took one out and I started wiping down like all the commonly touched areas. And the students looked at me and they're like, "Oh my God, it's like having Russo back."
Oh, I miss my little kids. I almost called them shit, so
Oh.
then I was like, that's mean. Oh, I miss
um,
them.
so we went to watch Birds of Prey,
For my
not
birthday.
immediately because
Before
on Tori's birthday,
Yeah, on my
before
birthday.
the lockdown, so like early March, and end of February-ish, because we celebrated his birthday early as well. And you know, we were in this small kind of theater, and I don't think we all went in with very high expectations. We've all kind of had very like medium low expectations of DC movies over the years. That way, if it like surprises us or just, you know, makes us go, oh, you know,
Right.
it's a surprise, it's a genuine surprise versus pure disappointment.
Mm-hmm,
So I think I think coming out of that movie, we were all just like super impressed and super surprised. So let's talk about our first reactions, guys.
Yeah.
Brenda?
Oh, sure. I just had fun. It was such a fun movie. Um, I mean, I think we all got hints that Margot Robbie was just great, right? From Suicide Squad, because she was just fun. But the film itself, the whole thing was just a delight to watch. There were some outlandish moments where you're just like, yeah, you know what? That's really funny. And I think part of it is, I think one of the difficult things with DC is capturing the vast scope of the DC universe on screen, right? That's not easy to do. Marvel's a little campier, so it's a little easier to just kind of lean into it. But with DC, making Batman camp is not impossible, but a little more difficult, right? There was something just delightful about Birds of Prey, and maybe you guys can elaborate on that. I don't know. I just had a lot of fun. The hyena was so ridiculous. And one of my favorite touches from the animated series that made it onto the screen. But I don't know. I loved it. I had fun.
Yeah, I had so much fun watching it. I think I was kind of like, the whole time watching it. I loved every second of it. Which I know apparently from my understanding it got mixed reviews. Which really like is a shocker to me because I thought it's like by far the best DC movie they've put out. Like I was so into it.
Wonder Woman.
I really liked Wonder Woman, but I didn't like Wonder Woman as much as this one. But I really liked Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman for me, as much as I love it, it for me kind of loses a little bit of steam in the final act.
Yeah,
it's kind of where it's like, which I felt like Birds of Prey was strong the whole way through. But I had so much fun watching it. I was in love with the martial arts. I thought the martial arts was fantastic. I can't wait to talk about that a little bit later. I really liked the costuming, another talking point I want to talk about later. Yeah, I really enjoyed the costuming. I really enjoyed I really like Margot as Harley, even though I don't really I'm not into like super tattooed Harley like as a character, but I love Margot as her. I think she's fantastic. I really love her as Harley Quinn. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was just genuinely so happy watching it and surprised.
You know, one of the things that when we walked out of Suicide Squad, I remember us talking about how problematic we thought they depicted Harley and Joker, right? And we know that it's a problematic relationship, but the way that it was depicted, particularly in Suicide Squad, was very troubling. I was super angry at the way that they kind of romanticize that relationship without fully acknowledging how abusive and
Mhm.
awful Joker is, right? And I'm with you. I'm not a huge fan of like the fully tattooed Harley, and it's just an aesthetic thing for me, right? I don't.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. It's just not a deal breaker for me. It just
Yeah,
wasn't.
same.
Yeah. Mind you, we grew up in the 90s, so for me, the original iteration of Harley on the Batman animated series was just my jam, right? So it took me a little bit getting used to this Harley, right?
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with the end result on Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, I think the moment where I was like, oh my God, yes, was when she took her bat and she threw it and it bounced and hit the guy. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it was just
Right.
so good.
That cheese sandwich is probably what won me over, which might actually speak to either my love of cheese, which is probable, or the fact that I was just hungry, which is weird because we had just had dinner before that.
Yeah.
So
I liked though
Also
how the story
questionable.
was told in a very Harley way. Like we kept getting pieces and then rewinding and then pieces and then she's like, oh wait, no, that's not right. And then
but
like
see, but I love that because it was very true to how you would tell a story to your friend, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like when you're a boy, right? And how the date went down, like the breakdown of the
yeah.
date, right?
He
You're like,
did
oh,
this. Oh wait.
exactly. You have to rewind a little bit, right? And so I really like that because I did feel like that was what she was capturing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with all of those points. I think DC just released a tutorial on that cheese sandwich. So if you're interested, Brenda, you can learn how to make it at home. I just saw that on YouTube.
Well,
Also, the hazards of working from home is my dog will just go nuts. So I just have to go calm him down. Anyways, yeah, I was really surprised by the caliber of this movie. There were a lot of mixed reviews. I think Margot Robbie set herself up on such a high kind of plank in terms of just like how well she did in terms of in Suicide Squad, just being able to conceptualize both in acting and in visualization, just what she wanted to do with Harley Quinn. I know that like, you know, we can talk about Harley's look and her evolution of the look, but I do think that like, you know, she was the one that was able to come out of Suicide Squad with a solo movie. And Margot Robbie's production company was behind, you know, this movie. It's behind like all these kind of solo, like, you know, speculated female-led superhero movies to come. I just think that in this movie, I think part of like that, the mixed reviews but I think what you guys have highlighted is that narrative device of the unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what makes this film successful, but also what also confuses audiences and why audiences weren't too sure about it. There were some plot holes, there were some plotty moments in the film. I'm not going to get away with it. It wasn't a perfect film. I think there were just a lot of great moments in the film that make up for those plotting moments. And so part of, and I might get heat for this, but I really loved Ewan McGregor's interpretation, like Ewan McGregor's acting in this movie. I know he was a complete a-hole. Like, honestly, he was a complete and utter a-hole. I do not wish him upon anyone in this world, but his acting made me think he was despicable. I thought he did such a really nice job of playing that role and like actually taking a hit in terms of just playing that role, because it's hard to come back from characters like that. It's really hard to come back, especially because he's been in this like line of good guy characters and these like maybe vanilla roles, maybe some like heroic roles. But I just think he did a really great job at that and playing what that film needed him to play, right? Be a dick in the most awful way possible. And I think that allowed the girls to shine.
Yeah.
And I really liked the girls. I think they were well cast. I loved Canary. I loved Huntress. I loved Renee Montoya's character, who I hope will become the Question at some point. And I love that this is sort of just like Harley Quinn tossing the baton for an eventual Birds of Prey series. And I think that's such a gracious thing to do, because this could have just been a Harley thing, right?
Yeah, I am so excited to see Huntress just be weird and kind of socially awkward and just a freaking mess, right? And they're all messes in their own right, right? And I love that this movie just kind of normalizes that, because I think we often want to be Ewan McGregor's version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? We want to be that valiant knight or whatever the hell. But with Birds of Prey, we see all these different women be all badasses in very different ways, but all of them are so incredibly flawed, right? And we get a lot of flawed men in media, but in this case, we got flawed women, and they were all pretty badass in whatever way, shape, or form. They're all incredibly messed up, and that's okay, right? I really enjoyed that. I'm not an expert in Italian culture, but that Huntress stuff was awesome. I don't know, my favorite. She wins Birds of Prey for me.
She was very funny.
Yeah, I wanted to like ask, and I think I did ask at the end of the movie how you felt about Huntress being Sicilian and being represented a little bit there.
Yeah, so it was really interesting because Italians, we feel this weird kind of society role where like we're white adjacent, but like we weren't excluded from like segregation laws and things, but now it's okay, question mark. But because of that, oftentimes Italian characters are played by white people, which is kind of a bummer, which I think she's British or something, right? Or she's British, I think she's just like good old English. I don't know enough about her.
American.
What was that?
The actress, I think, is American.
Okay, I don't know enough about her. I actually didn't know anything about any of these actors before the movie. Everyone was brand new to me. I like the portrayal of Hunter. She made me laugh. The Sicilian rage was real, and which was great. But it would have been nice if she's a little bit darker. And things like that. Because it's interesting because Italians typically play Latinx characters in movies and TV. Because we're like just a shade lighter. But yeah, but I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was similar to like I feel like Jen notices this more when you have someone that's like a Chinese character and they're played by like a different type of Asian. Or an Asian from a different country rather, and her it's like, okay, you're supposed to be like we had this conversation about Power Rangers, about Trini's character. We were like, is she Vietnamese? Is she Korean? Is she both? Is she a catch-all Asian? Similar discussion there. Yeah, right, catch-all. But I have my little Trini right here. Jen got me that actually for my birthday a couple years back.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to get a Tommy still.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Because he's not in enough things. He has to be in everything. Yeah. So I think you make some valid points. I think I'm noticing that trend where like I think I was reading Grace and I was like, hey, how do you feel about like Huntress and like because it's Sicilian? Like I just didn't know. Maybe I'm just like don't know anything about Huntress's character. Maybe she's always been Sicilian.
I knew she was Italian, but I didn't know if she like the Sicilian thing is new to me, but I'm not like well versed in Huntress, so.
Right. I feel like Sicily has been like featured a lot lately though.
Yeah, like they went there in Aquaman, the movie. And yeah, Sicily's been like popping up on everything right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, hey.
Right. I felt kind of like I like Cassandra Cain. I wish I got more of her, but I enjoyed that she was like this punk kid. Like I think Asians also fight against certain stereotypes. I think whereas before it was like the typical math student, the A student, the like prep student, now it's the dumb Asian. That's really, prevalent among television. You see it in The Good Place. You see it in Single Parents.
Riverdale.
Right? And so like while I laugh and I'm enjoying that, I also feel like that's another pigeonhole, right? And so I like that Cassie was sort of, she was just a punk ass, right? Like she was just a punk, and she, like you didn't love her 100% of the time, and I think that was what's really interesting about all the characters is just that you didn't love them 100% of the time. And like Brenda said, yeah, like Brenda said, like they're flawed, right? And I think also what's important to know is like they're flawed, but they're also each dealing with a certain trauma, right? And so I liked how the film didn't say this is the cure-all for trauma.
No.
Follow it. Happily ever after, right? There were some happily ever afters. It did end on that quintessential Harley, this is a good thing. But like you know that those traumas still exist, right? Like you know that like Cassandra's still gonna have those same like orphan issues. You know that Canary's still gonna probably still have those issues with men going forward, right? Controlling dominant men. And you whatever's happening with Huntress, she's gonna continue with.
Yeah, but it ultimately comes to this sense of female community, right? They're still finding each other and they're gonna struggle through it. They're gonna have a support system now moving forward, right? And I think that is so progressive. As women and women who are in different groups, right? We understand that occupying these spaces with each other, building that community is ultimately what helps us kind of survive, right? And that's true for most marginalized communities, right? Finding that sense of community is really the only way to start that building process, right? Or that healing process towards something that hopefully will be better in the future. It's obviously not going to fix everything, but I think it makes a very strong statement about female empowerment, but particularly female support.
No, I agree. I think that's what I enjoyed the most, and I think that's really highlighted in the communal fight scene that they all engage with.
I love that scene so much.
To like save Cassie. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about the fight sequences.
Yeah, that fight scene was just fantastic. Like Harley on roller skates, like just zipping around. It was like I forget if in that scene Huntress hands the was like the flip phone and she's like, this is the only thing that matters, focus on only this. And then she like bops some heads in. Right. And I just thought that was like such a nice moment because they're like she was trying to spare Cassie more trauma. Like she was like, focus on this, like I'll kick some butt and we'll come back. And I just really enjoyed that. And the fights were just so well choreographed.
Talk a little bit about that because you actually do have a background in martial arts that people don't know about.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about martial arts, like you legit know stuff.
Yeah. So I have a martial arts background. I've done martial arts for like 25 years. Tang Sudo. So I've done martial arts a really long time. I typically can pick out the stunt double changes, like those types of things. I can tell like pretty quickly. Just physically what's different. And what I loved about the combat overall in this movie was it had this like echoes of like Jackie Chan, like Hong Kong martial arts films. And I loved every single second of it. Like I was like, this is straight up out of a Jackie Chan movie and I am here for it. It was great. Just like so when I mentioned Jackie Chan martial arts in movies, what that means is that's martial arts that is the moves are simple enough that the actors can perform them themselves most of the time. They're simple kicks, simple punches, very easily learned. But the Jackie Chan effect is, so you give Canary this very simple spinning back kick, right, where she spins around and she kicks out that way. Very simple. The white belts learned this like day 2. Very, very simple. But you have her do that very simple move and the guy goes through a car window. Like, that's the Jackie Chan effect, right? He takes off a car door because he's hitting that thing now. Or they do the camera at an angle from above, right? Where you see her spinning from above, and it adds that like this extra, it makes it look more complex and more interesting. And the actor is able to do it themselves most of the time. Because
The
it's
dramatic flair.
right. And I think because of that as well, because a lot of these women were doing a lot of, like, I don't want to call them the stunts, but a lot of the simple martial arts they were doing themselves, at least that's what I gauged. The camera was able to get right up in there on them because they weren't switching. So you could see Harley's face as she's throwing a punch because she's actually throwing the punch, right? And things like that, which I thought was great. I think Margot even did a backflip in it herself.
Right, like I remember watching the film with you, and there's that scene where she's breaking into the police department and she's going through the jail cells, and she's doing like a series of backflips in the rain, and you're like, wow, Margot really did that. Like that hurts. Like your hip is gonna hurt after that.
Yeah, when she did the jump kick, I was like, she did that herself. Like that was 100% her, and I was like, ouch, like because that hurts. But no, I was just like, hell yes. Like the martial arts was just fantastic. It was so good. And all of them, they all just had like just super fantastic martial arts in it. Like every single part, like, and they each had their own like very individualized martial arts. Like Renee Montoya had she was having like she was kind of in a boxing stance, right? She was like ready to like box, right? Which is very like police academy, like, which I thought was great. Huntress's was a little more kind of wild and all over the place. It was hard to kind of pin what she was doing because she's lived like this her whole life. Right, Canary's was actually quite polished, and I think that's because her mother was a vigilante. Her mother was the former Canary, so she has like formal training, if you will, in martial arts from her former vigilante mother, who's now dead. And then Harley's was very acrobatic, which is in line with Harley, which I thought was just fantastic. But yeah.
I think that is what made this a little different. I remember reading an article where the director was talking about all the Chinese like fight sequences, influences Chinese fight movie, this film, and how like she really wanted to work on establishing a fight style for each girl, each woman, right? That fit her fighting style.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I didn't know that, but that was absolutely what was happening. I can tell you that from the martial arts for sure.
Right. And like how like every like style or everything that happened like was more complicated when it comes to gender as well. Like I know we want to be PC here, but like, you know, the women had to rely more on kicks, had to rely more on like low stuff, right? Like, or it might take them longer to take down a person, because they don't have the same amount of strength, right? Like
so also,
Renee Montoya might not have that. For example.
Right. So to piggyback off of that, typically females in martial arts movies or in the superhero movies specifically, they have stunt doubles. They do this one specific, Black Widow does it all the time. They have this one specific grapple move where they take their legs and they wrap them around your head and they swing around and they're able to like fling you, right? And it's very sexual and you get a total crotch shot and like, and that didn't happen once, I don't think, in this movie. Because it happens like, it's like, oh, this person's like a fighter and she's a woman. And, like, she's going to end up doing that, like, thighs around your head and swing you around move. Which is like, okay, we get it.
The thing that I thought with this film was it wasn't so much about, like, making it pretty, right? It was about taking down your opponent as quickly as you can, right? I mean, as women, that when we are walking to our car, right, that's the number one priority if someone comes at us, right? How do we get this guy down so we have the chance to run? Obviously, they're not running because they're there to fight. But I felt like, and I'm not a martial arts expert by any means, but I felt like that was definitely what was coming across, right? Every punch felt calculated, right? Like, I have to hit this person here because that's going to be the maximum amount of pain. And it'll get me close. It'll take fewer punches for me to move on to the next enemy, right? If that makes sense.
I completely agree. Like, no, that makes total sense. I mean, it brings me back to like a conversation we had with Tori. I think we were slightly drunk, and our friend was hosting a birthday party, and we were in her backyard. And like I think we were all slightly drunk, but I think Tori just gave us like a very quick, like, this is what you do to take a person down.
Yeah,
if
I
like they
that.
ever approach you. And so I don't know, Tori, do you want to walk us through that like 5-minute thing?
I remember the throat punch very distinctly.
Throat punches are great.
I remember like this move.
Right.
Oh yeah, bop the nose, right? Good bop to the nose that gets people to let go of you real fast. Right, a good bop to the ears, like that gets people off of you real fast, right? Things like that. Elbows hurt really hard. Yeah. Nose and throat. Those are
like,
thumbs coming for you. Those are what you aim for.
Right. Like, but I remember for being drunk, I remember things really well, apparently. Yeah, I remember you saying like you need to take them down, like you need to take that moment of surprise with you.
Yeah.
Like that's the moment where you're gonna do that maximum impact. You're gonna get away quick and dirty so that you can just surprise them, hit them quick and dirty, and then go and run and call police or get in your car. But that's what you want to do. So like what Brenda's comment said earlier, like it makes sense.
For background reference for people watching, I was inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame in 2010 for Instructor of the Year, specifically for my women's self-defense program I made up. And that was part of what they're talking, it was part of that, is what they're referring to. Absolutely, for women's self-defense, it's take out your opponent as quickly as possible, maximum damage, least amount of effort, using that moment of surprise because an assailant isn't expecting you to fight back, or they're expecting you to flail, right? They're expecting this, not a calculated like to the nose, right? They're expecting you to flail with your bag or, something like that, and that's easily like smothered. But a good bop, there's no controlling that because your eyes start watering, it just hurts, and you just dip, like you get out of there. But yeah, no, the martial arts is fantastic. Was that good?
Right. So hear our podcast and get some like quick survival skill guide.
Just things I know how to do.
But I agree, like just Tori's whole description describes the whole movie, right? It's about taking your opponent down by surprise and surprising your opponent by what you're able to do and inflicting as much possible damage as possible, right? And that's what they all consistently did.
Yeah, which would make sense to someone like Renee because she's so tiny, right? So she's not going to rely on high kicks as much as she's going to rely on a well-placed punch.
Yeah, and I think to these points as well, a lot of times, like in martial arts, just in the real world, right, women are underestimated and perceived as weak, and that's what happens to all of these women the entire movie. It's like, oh, take down these bunch of girls, and like, they're just girls, what do you mean all my gangster people can't take them out? And like, you know what I mean? Like when they kill Victor Zaz, right? And they were like, what? How did these girls do that? And it's like, because they're badasses. That's how.
Right.
And it shows up and no one knows who she is.
When who does?
Right.
It shows up and no one knows who she is.
Yeah.
Right. Which I think like the martial arts is does the big thing of establishing each of their personas, each of their fighting through their individual fighting styles, but even the costuming. So like the costuming does that really, really well. So let's talk a little bit about that.
We talk about the colors. OMFG, this movie was not afraid of color.
No, it was not.
There was yellow, and it wasn't just yellow. It was like neon in your face.
The lab exploding into all the colors.
Well, when you guys were talking, because again, I'm not a martial arts expert, but when you guys were talking about the police station moment, right? When she walks in and she's like just shooting up everything.
I need to report a crime, officer.
Color. I love that. Like,
the glitter gun.
Really?
The glitter gun was great.
Glitter gun, yes. Oh my goodness. All right, so I know like glitter's annoying and really ugly because when you get it on your hands, but it was just so pretty to see, right?
And it was
It's
so Harley.
yeah.
Very Harley.
And I
Very
think
Harley.
that's part of the fun, right? One of the things that I think the director did really well was capturing the color splash that is Harley's personality, right? Because she's not just neon; she's in your face, every freaking color of the rainbow, and that is so
She's
fantastic.
that glitter sandbag clocking you in the face in that police scene.
Yep. And she's loud and obnoxious, and oh goodness me, like every single costume in that was so on point.
Oh,
From
I love
Harley's
that.
to Canaries.
Oh. Wait, can we talk
Canaries
about
was great.
the repurposing of her fishnets? Because I was living for that fishnet glove.
Oh yeah.
OMG. Like, I was like, yes. Like,
Absolutely.
I love Canary's just outfit. It's very cool, very jazz bar, very
yeah, and even her
very quick to put on. Like you can probably find those things. It's easy cosplay, probably.
It was vintage 70s, and yet it didn't feel outdated, right? Like it was just on point.
And then her street clothes, her canary clothes when she was fighting was slick, and it was awesome. Like it was just like you were saying, one of our friends, Chelsea, she had said something that she felt like all the costumes in this movie were costumes that women would actually wear. Like you would find this in a thrift shop. You would find this and I loved it. I loved every second of this new costume.
Especially Harley's costume. I liked how, and you could tell the difference, right? Like you could tell the difference with the directors and the people involved in Suicide Squad to who was involved in Birds of Prey. Modest, Suicide Squad was all about capitalizing on that female culture of just showing as much skin as possible. So Harley was wearing those booty shorts. She was barely wearing a t-shirt that was clearly something that you could see her bra through. She was sort of ripped, right? Very cute, yes. And she had these heels on, these heel boots on. She had these
but very much catered to the male gaze.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, absolutely. And then here, Harley's a lot more conservative in her dress. She's still killer. She's still hot. She's still very chic, right? But these are all also wearable clothes.
Yeah, that you can fight, right? It's not just that they're wearable. It's you can actually fight in these clothes, right? Because let's face it, if you're gonna be wearing those booty shorts, you're likely gonna be facing an extreme case of chafing, and it's very
you're gonna have to roll some deodorant on there or something.
I loved though how they added 6 inches to her shorts, and then it was the overalls. I was like, oh my god, are we bringing overalls back? Yes.
The gold overalls, yes. What was that? I am not an overall fan, but I was
jacket with all the fringe. I gasped. I was like, oh my god, yes.
And Huntress was rocking the whole tracksuit, chic tracksuit kind of vibe. Montoya was definitely rocking the I'm just doing this really rough job and I'm throwing on sweats kind of look.
The
even
costume
Ali
was
Wong.
fantastic.
Yeah, even Ali Wong's who is the DA that Montoya was dating previously, Ali Wong's character had these really nice pantsuits going. So all the women were wearing really fashionable, very chic clothes, very seductive clothes, right? Very hot clothes that you can move in, right? They didn't they all were very sexy and sensual in their own way and didn't have to show a lot of skin to accomplish that, which is what I really appreciated.
On the Renee Montoya thing, she's wearing that the blouse over a tank top that she tied up, and that's very 90s Latina. My queen Selena wore that kind of outfit. That was just so freaking awesome. So when I saw that, it was just but yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the costume was fantastic. I loved that so much of it was genre appropriate too. Canary looked like she works in a nightclub, right? It was appropriate because like, because I think about how popular a couple WonderCons ago, Suicide Squad, Harley in the club dress was. I feel like everyone was not. It's like two napkins stapled together, and I feel like everyone was in that dress because they just wanted to wear a itsy bitsy little thing, which is fine. More power to you. But I'm really curious to see what all the cosplayers do with this new set of wardrobe, because I mean, I don't think Harley's in a single high heel ever. Even when she's in the club, she's in like a glitter Joker outfit, like with like Converse on, I think.
Which makes me sad about conventions, right? Like,
yeah, she had boots on. Yeah, but I feel like there's a difference between a boot and a heel. Like,
right. Makes me sad about like conventions, right? We're gonna have to wait a good year to see all these cosplayers out there.
Rip art from my wall.
So yeah, I think what we're like enthusiastically getting at is that we really love the attention to these women characters and putting together very feasible women characters, and not just, you know, I guess like pinups. They're not pinup dolls. Which is what I appreciate it.
I mean, they can be, but that's not their purpose, right?
That's not how they are.
Even when she was wearing the Marilyn Monroe pink dress, right? That scene was so heartbreaking, right?
Was it in the club when Canary was singing and then they were doing like the hands? Okay, yeah.
She's like she looks gorgeous, right?
Gorgeous.
Quite literally the pinup, right? And yet there's something so melancholy about all of it, right? And so sad and so chaotic that I don't know, I loved every minute of it. I want to talk about her blazer. Do you guys remember the blue thing that she's wearing? Like, I think it's at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is at the end.
Yeah. What did you guys think of that blazer?
I liked it. It wasn't my favorite. Like, whole outfit wasn't necessarily my favorite, but I liked it.
I felt like it was the version. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tori.
Oh, I liked specifically that outfit paired with Cassie mirroring it with her high ponytail and like as mini Harley, and I was living for that moment together because I'm so ready for like Harley to have her like deviation movies where it's like Harley and Jester or something, and like Cassie is now this new character, which I think is so like meta and on point with like how Harley's character came into creation, that it would be great to have this like brand new hero, like, or anti-hero even, created like through this and then works their way into the comics the way Harley did in the Batman the Animated Series. But I love
that's
that.
lovely. I really like that. Yeah.
I really enjoyed Cassie.
So like that's a thing that we're gonna get.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I love Cassie's look too. It wasn't just girl cute or like like Coachella cute, or you know, it's very just like slap whatever I can find from like whatever I can find. If this is what I find at a vintage store, if this is what I find at a Goodwill, right? It's very thought together, and that's what life is. Sometimes you just slap something together. You just don't have the means to afford everything. That's very cute and very like influencer like. So I really did enjoy like Cassie's wardrobe as well for that reason. So what do we think about the cast? What do we think about like how the cast fits in for the future? What are some future stories you want to see?
Yeah, so I cannot wait for like Birds of Prey 2. I hope that is a thing that's going to happen. I feel like that's what they want to happen. So one of my favorite Birds of Prey, I mean, I love when Ivy's involved, and I love when Katana's involved. I would love to see them incorporated into the next Birds of Prey movie, maybe. I'm eagerly awaiting possibly Oracle to show up, because I feel like you can't. That was one of my like not gripes with the Birds of Prey movie, but I was kind of like, it felt weird having the Birds of Prey without Oracle. But I also feel like Renee might be that kind of role too, moving forward, which I'm totally fine with. but I'm just curious where that's going to go. I'd love to see Katana come back and just be all kinds of Katana crazy. Especially, I specifically really enjoy the interaction between, I think this happens in New 52, correct me if I'm wrong, but Birds of Prey, New 52, Katana, Canary, and that other girl, I don't remember her name, with the guns. And they're doing stuff, and Batgirl's in it briefly too. And Katana like goes to like kill this person, and Canary's like, no, we don't kill him. Katana's like, well, don't care. And like I like that Canary not willing to compromise her morals on killing, and like actively trying to take down Katana even though she knows she needs her help. And being like, no, like if you try to kill someone, Katana, like I will stop you with full force. And like I think that would be really cool on-screen tension and plot and character development, and yeah. So I hope to see that in the next Birds of Prey, possibly.
Yeah, I think.
Poison Ivy.
What was that, Brenda?
Yeah.
I want to see Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I love Ivy.
Friendship with Harley to be front and center. I want that kind of like, don't get me wrong, I know that there's a whole side of the fandom that's very much them as a couple, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm totally part of that too. But I also really just enjoy them as friends, right? Like, just a beautiful example of what female friendship looks like, and like that unconditional support where it's like she will give you advice, right? They'll give you advice to each other, and they'll hate each other and love each other profoundly. But ultimately, that friendship is rooted in respect, right? And a love that is just pure. And I really enjoy that, because often, I mean, on one hand, when two women are friends, it's always like, oh, there's a lesbian subtext there, right?
Yeah.
Which I think there is with Harley and Poison Ivy, but I think there's also a very strong sense of that female friendship, and I would really love to see that on screen.
Yeah.
I think the series does a really good job of highlighting that. I'd like to see it in the movies too.
Yeah, and I think that Ivy and Harley have a very specific relationship too that warrants this analysis, and because they don't have, like, they're not like just two women that are friends with each other, right? Like Harley is like, I'm sorry, Ivy is like anti-human. She's like plants are better than people. I don't care about people at all, but I care about Harley a lot. And that's in itself is very beautiful. And she's like, Harley, like, what are you doing with this guy? Like, you need to leave Joker. Like, what are you doing? Respect yourself, right? And then Harley, Ivy is one of the only stable relationships she's ever had. And I just really enjoy that kind of backstory to them, right? And I do feel like the Harley, I mean, I'm a Harley Ivy shipper, like absolutely 100% in. And I do feel like they kind of get the short end of the stick a lot of the times. Like, so for example, right, there was for Valentine's Day, they released they did a post like for purchasing your DC statue. So they had, like Superman and Lois, and I have Batman and Catwoman, et cetera, all these pairs, right? And they did, I think they had a Harley and Joker one, and people were like, really? That's what you're gonna give us when we just got canonical Harley, Ivy, and Bombshells? Like, that's, and they had just released a statue for them too. A couple statue, and that one wasn't featured in their like power couples post, and people were like, really? Like, you're gonna ignore this?
I mean, given the fact that Batman can be with Catwoman, he can be with Talia, he can be with Vicky, what's her face? I think there's space for both, right? Like Harley can be with Ivy in one iteration, and then they can just be friends in another.
Absolutely.
I just want to explore those relationships in either iteration or both iterations, actually, because I think there's space for both interpretations. I just want to see more of that, right? And I'm really happy that Bombshells went there. But I also want just to see it on screen where you have Harley and Ivy just talking about like just having those female conversations, right, that we often have, where they're just supportive of each other, and they're like, you know what, you do you. I don't understand your life choices, but when you need to vent because this is gonna go south, let's just talk. I'll be here, right? And that just happens.
Yeah. Shout out, by the way, to Bennett. If you're watching this, I doubt it. But if you are, we met you at Comic-Con, I'm sorry, at WonderCon last year, and you were the coolest person I've ever met. And I'm so happy that, like, because it's always weird when you meet, like, comic book writers, because you never know, like, you love their work and you don't know how it's going to go. And she was, like, the coolest person. She, like, chatted with us. She high-fived us. She was just, like, having a good old time with us.
For a full 10 minutes, I want to say. And she was just so gracious and so kind and so encouraging. And I say this because we met other authors. Not all of them were as gracious and lovely. And some of them were just, they had incredibly long lines behind them. But they were really nice. And others weren't as kind. But she definitely was. She was
so kind. When I told her I taught bombshells in my class, which I do, she was over the moon thrilled, signed my book for me, and just was, like, so happy. There was I'm not going to name names because I don't want them to hate me, because I love their work so much, even if they were kind of standoffish to me. But there was another person that I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of presentations and essays and stuff on their work. And they were kind of like, when I told them about it, they just kind of shrugged at me and just kind of were like, cool, I guess. I signed it, bye. Like, which was kind of a little heartbreaking. Not heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I was a little disappointed.
I think heartbreaking is the right word.
Yeah, I would say.
I did not meet Bennett because I did not go with you guys. I think I was still waiting in line for Scott
the Snyder line, which was like 80,000 people long.
Who, by the way, was really wonderful and sweet.
He was so nice.
He was amazing.
So
He was so amazing. I wrote my thesis on American vampires, so I really wanted to meet him. I wanted to talk a little bit about my thesis with him, which I have the opportunity to do. So even though the person behind me had like a million things to like sign, I was just like, so like let's talk about like American Vampire. Right. Like, let's talk about American Vampire. When are you picking that up again? I'm talking about this. Am I right?
Everybody there was there for Batman. You were probably one of the few people who wanted to.
He was genuinely surprised when you pulled out, because I came in with My American Vampire Snyder book, and Jen was like, oh my god, I forgot mine, please. And I was like, here, take it. And he was
I still owe you a copy.
Yes. He was so genuinely excited, because I had that in my Batman, because I loved New 52 Snyder Batman. I had him send my novels.
Right.
And which is one of my favorite Batmans. And he was so, like, he just lit up like a Christmas tree when he saw Jen pull out American Vampire. Like, he was like, oh my god, you love my baby. Like, because he's like, because everyone wanted Batman from him. Everyone was like, Batman, Batman, Batman. And then you pulled out American Vampire, and he was like, oh my god, you like the other one that I love.
I do. I'm reading everything else you're writing. It's taking me forever, but I am, because like I get bored. Not of your work, but just get bored of reading.
Right. No, I totally get it.
Right. So yeah, he was amazing. So I didn't get to meet Bennett, but I did hear really great stories about her.
She was great.
I was waiting in line and starstruck when I saw Snyder walking by. But yeah, like I think like you're right, Tori, like going back to your comments about like Renee and Oracle, I think she is going to step into that Oracle role for the team. And I think that's okay. You know, I love that girl. I love Barbara Gordon. I think that Barbara Gordon suffers from like not finding a writer that understands her outside of Gail Simone, and Gail Simone only understands her as like older Barbara. And Barbara is Oracle. Like Barbara getting her shit together, growing up, being her 30s, like Gail Simone can write that. Like she cannot write young Barbara to save her life. I think like
the one where she's taking the selfie on the cover.
That's Stewart. Stewart, and
I liked that one.
I thought that was a really good one. People gave it a lot of shit. You didn't love it specifically, Tori. I remember, like, you really was okay. I thought it did a really good job of like really making Barbara a juvenile. You know, I think that's the struggle with Barbara's character is that she's like this genius with just genius intellect and like eidetic photographic memory, and they don't know how to write for that because like they're not that, right? So they can't necessarily write a true experience because they haven't lived that life, right? And they might not have lived Batman's life either, or anybody else's life either. But for some reason, like really smart girls who are like down to earth, who have like their shit together, who are about family, like who are like the girl next door, are really hard to write for these folks. And I think that speaks to the fact that they need to diversify their writing staff. They need to like rethink and reimagine Barbara's character. And that's why Barbara has been in like this purgatory hell, because they know so many people love her so much. They want to like launch her into her own solo series, which means she can't be on Supergirl. So what happens? Batwoman becomes Supergirl's best friend instead, right? She can't be on Titans. So what happens? Like she doesn't get a cameo on Titans. Like not that she was ever part of Titans, but she could be a guest star.
And they're already doing so much stuff on Titans that's breaking all kinds of rules anyways. Like
right. And so like she can't be on any, like she can't be an animated show, she can't be like a live action. So like she's just in purgatory because they just have not figured out how to write for this character. And so I think that, which is a shame, right? I think it's a missed opportunity. And but in that, I think this gives a really good highlight for Renee, like as a Latinx woman, as someone who represents for lesbians, right? Like I think someone who represents for like marginalized folks. I think this is a really great opportunity for that to be displayed. So I'm happy about that. I think that like I was, you know, as you guys are talking, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a separation of Birds of Prey, and there's just going to be like Harley developing their own movies. And my hope for Harley is that she eventually like finds Catwoman and Ivy and does a siren.
Gotham City Sirens.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And clearly.
And if that's not the plan, DC, it needs to be the plan now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It just needs.
Right. I think Margot,
for Gotham City Sirens.
Right.
Like I think Margot Robbie and Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman are going to be amazing together. Zoe Kravitz has been amazing in Big Little Lies. She's been amazing in High Fidelity. She's just a really cool cat, literally, right? That's Corey's demonstrating his pet.
My black
She's
cat,
just
her name's
really,
Kiki.
right?
I'm out of place because all my dogs are downstairs, so I'm just gonna hang on to Guillermo right now.
Oh, yeah, like I think she's super cool, super sensual, super sexy. Like I'm so excited to see her interpretation of Catwoman, and would love for Margot to work with an unknown actress to bring Ivy to life, and just give us Gotham Sirens, and give us what that looks like, and then give us a crossover where it's Gotham Sirens against the Birds of Prey. Like how amazing would that be?
Yeah.
Like let's talk about eventual crossovers. We want that one.
I need that in my life.
Honestly.
I need that to get me through this shit. Yeah.
And,
I'd
like,
really
Wonder
love
Woman can do a cameo.
for Ivy. I don't know her name, but in the 100, the actor that plays Raven, I love her.
Yeah.
I would love to see her as Ivy. I think she's such a great actor. I think she'd do really well as her. So shout out to you too if you're watching. I like your work a lot.
So yeah, I think that we've completely and utterly shared how much we love Birds of Prey. We admit like there's some holes, there's room for improvement, but overall we appreciate the effort. We love the cast, we love the costuming, we love the martial arts, and so get out there, watch it. It's early access, guys. It's supports the movie. You guys pay like more than like $12 per ticket anyways. You can afford $19.99.
Yeah, seriously, I would say, I mean, honestly, I know that there's 1 billion and one pirating sites, but give these gals your money. Like, show them that women heroes sell, and
show them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, women heroes, especially as they consider like especially as I consider what the future looks like for these big superhero woman movies that are coming out, like Black Widow and Wonder Woman. And so we really need to show our support here because they're doing amazing things, and I want to see more. Even if it's just me and us and watching, we want to see more. So just to wrap things up here, what are we going to be reading? What are we going to be watching until our next podcast?
Yeah, so I'm a huge Power Rangers fan. I've seen every single season. I made my husband watch it with me recently, and we watched all 26 seasons, 27 seasons. Took us about 6 months. Best 6 months of my life. I've been making my way through the Boom Studios Power Rangers comics slowly but surely. Kyle Higgins wrote it for a really long time. Bennett is she still, I'm only up to, I just finished Shattered Grid. I haven't gone past. I don't know if she takes over in Shattered Grid at one point. I don't know if she's still doing it, but it's been great. You can't even tell the switch.
Yeah.
I've been reading that. I'm almost done with, was it like Soul of the Dragon, Heart of the Dragon, something of the Dragon. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I would agree.
Not my OTP, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Tommy's son's kind of like a jerk. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm reading. I'm looking for, I think the rest of Pokemon Sun and Moon went to Netflix yesterday. So I'm excited to pick that back up. Yeah.
Yay.
How about you, Brenda?
I've been reading and catching up with Giant Days. It's just a quirky little comic about these 3 friends who are in college in England. Wow, everything comes back to England for me. I don't know. But it's just a quirky, fun comic. Jen originally got me hooked on it, and it's just light and refreshing, and it's a nice little piece of escapism. There are moments where it gets a little too real for me, but overall it's just a nice fun read. But yeah, that's what I will be reading for the next month. Maybe not month, because I'm actually not that far behind, and once I start reading Giant Days, I quickly catch up. So after that, I'm gonna need some recommendations about what to read. I'll probably pick up Power Rangers, or you know what, the Buffy comic, because I
just finished that.
I hear it's really good. I haven't read it though.
Wonderful. So I read the first one and it was wonderful. I haven't picked up the second one just yet. I bought it, but I haven't started it yet.
Is it a retelling or is it a continuation after season?
The way that I put it was that like it's the same characters that you love, just in an alternate verse.
Oh, okay.
So like it's taking all the character developments that.
Okay.
So it's taking all the final character developments from the original series and just starting with that. So yeah. Willow starts in a like much stronger place.
Okay.
Than she did originally.
Right, yeah. Right. So is it resetting them back in high school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
cool.
You don't get Principal Wood till the final season in the original series. In this series, he's actually going to school with them.
Okay.
There's some like tension there. Angel still hasn't shown up, but Spike is there. So there's definitely differences, but it still stays true to the characters, and it's just fun to read.
That sounds lovely, because I tried to continue and I wasn't into the like official continuation.
Yeah, it's different. It's very Boom.
So like, how about we hold off on that discussion? We could do like a reading podcast.
Okay.
Later. We're making plans as we record this. Yeah. So I just finished Buffy, the same comic that we were just talking about. I am trying to get back into reading. I have a Goodreads challenge that I'm doing really well on, but I feel like I need to get back into reading comics. I ordered a Nintendo Switch Lite, so I'm going to go and dive into Pokemon Sword and Shield. Even though I'm upset about all the things you guys are also upset about, not being able to have all the Pokemon, but I really need to cope at this point, so I'm going to go play something that's very familiar.
And we did the top hat.
I'm really trying to get, yeah, I'm really trying to start Heroes in Crisis. I really want to start reading. I think I want to like clear out some of my to-do reading list. So on that list, it's like Superboys. I have two more volumes on that. I want to finish up the Rebirth Wonder Woman with the witchy stuff that was happening. I want to catch up on like Red Hood and the Outlaws, but like New 52 because I left off on volume 3 and 4. And so I have a couple of things I want to get back into. Why the Last Man has been kind of sitting on my mind lately. I think because of what's going on.
The apocalypse.
So yeah, so I kind of want to read volumes 2 and 3 at this point. But yeah, let's see if I get around to it.
It was like a very strong reading challenge when I just listed 2 things. And I feel personally, but whatever.
For everybody watching, when you're a teacher, as much as we love comic books and reading, sometimes after you've graded like 254-page essays, you just don't want to read anything else. You just want to watch some Power Rangers and go to bed.
And that sometimes that actually includes subtitles. So
yeah,
Jen and I love Korean dramas, but at a certain point in the semester, I can't read anymore.
My brain turns off because I'm grading.
Yeah, pretty much.
My
so
students do
wonderful
stuff, but yeah, it's a lot of it.
On that note, we want to wish you happy, safe at home quarantining and self-isolating. We are going to try to be better at recording these things and connecting with you all. And that's really it. So I hope that you guys join us for next time.
Yeah, this is our first time with Zoom, so hopefully it's not too wonky. All right, I'm going to hit the stop button. So I keep cutting you off, Brenda. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Whatever. We're fine. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Too.
All right, here we go. And recording stop.